The brand new FIA GT Series roars into action this weekend in France at the Paul Armagnac circuit in Nogaro. A packed grid of stellar cars, teams and drivers will compete throughout 6 rounds of 2013 in order to be the FIA GT Series champion. There will be 3 classes this season: Pro Cup, Pro-Am Cup and Gentleman's Trophy. And one man who's definitely entering the Pro Cup is Sebastian Loeb. The 9-time World Rally Champion will be out in a McLaren.
My hope is to improve my driving on racing. For sure I don't have a lot of experience. We are in an international championship with a lot of very good drivers, so it will be for me important to see where I am in this high level and try to improve my driving.
Seb will be joined in his McLaren MP412C by factory McLaren driver Alvaro Parente. Meanwhile, in the sister car, Mike Parisi will be joined by Andreas Zuber, and together should be challenging for the Pro Cup. HTP Gravity Cheroux have entered 3 Mercedes SLSs for this season. In car number 1 is Maximilian Buch.
I try to fight for some points, of course. I try to be top 5 every weekend, but I'm quite confident and satisfied that we can fight for some points and having a good championship.
Alan Day will be Buch's teammate. Afanasiev and Andreas Simonsen are in number 2, and car number 3 is driven by Petr Cherouz and Jan Stovacek. A great addition to the series of Phoenix Audi. The winners of last year's Nürburgring 24-hour race will field an Audi R8. Enzo Ede and Anthony Kumpen will be the drivers.
The Audis should be strong here. We saw now in the dry conditions that the McLarens are really strong, and the wet, the Audis were strong, so we will see. The weather conditions will change, but we are quite confident that we will be quite good.
Continuing the Audi theme are WRT. They're fielding 3 R8s this year with Laurence Vanthoor and Stefano Telli in the number 11 machine.
This championship, the sprint series, is really something we are looking forward with Laurence Vanthoor, my teammate. Not only because we won the Blancpain series, but because it's really something we have to improve. We have to be better. The teams did a very good job during the winter for practicing pit stop. All the teams know better this championship. Don't forget that last year there were some very strong teams who had much more experience than us in the sprint series. So definitely we want to do well.
René Rast and Niki Meyer-Melnhof will compete in the 12 car in the Pro-Am Cup, whilst the other pro entry will be Frank Stippler and Edward Sandstrom. Another strong entry in the Pro Cup is the Door McLaren of Daniel Kilvitz and Nicholas Kenetich. Kenetich is aware it's going to be a tough season.
It's a new car for me. It's my first time this weekend in the car. We have never testing before. It's the first time with this team and the first time in this series. And I hope we can make a good start this weekend. And then we must look what's the next races.
The German squad will be hoping to make a good impression this season. There's a strong Brazilian presence in the FIA GT Series this season, coming from BMW Team Brazil, using a range of international and national motorsport stars, including ex-F1 driver Ricardo Zonta.
This weekend, the first practice, I had some problems with my car, so I did only 5-6 laps, and it's been quite difficult for me and for the Jimenez, the second driver, to adapt to this car. It's a new car for me, especially.
Zonta will be joined in car 21 by Sergio Jimenez, whilst car 0 will see 5-time Brazilian stock car champion Caco Bueno race with Alan Coder. The second Brazilian entry this season comes in the form of a pair of Ford GTs from Road Drive. Claudio Ricci will be driving the number 7 car, alongside him, Matthias Stumpf.
We think it's a big championship with big names here. We have other Brazilians here too, and it will be nice for all around the world that we can do a very good job here.
The second car will enter the Gentleman's Trophy. Rajan Mascarello and Felipe Tozzo at the wheel. Seyfarth Motorsport will enter 1 Mercedes SLS this year for Jan Seyfarth and ex-Formula 1 driver Karun Chandok, who's looking forward to having a roof over his head.
Yeah, it's a real eye-opener coming into this championship. There's a lot of good drivers and teams, so it'll take a little bit of learning. I think the first 2 races, 2 race weekends, but I've got a good teammate in Jan Seyfarth, and the team are working really hard. So I've come here with no testing, so real baptism of fire. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll see where we end up.
It'll be a steep learning curve for Seyfarth and Chandok this season as they enter the Pro Cup. BMW Sports Trophy Team India field a BMW Z4 in the Pro-Am Cup this year. Frenchman Julien Juste will be joined by Indian driver Aman Ibrahim.
We haven't done much running because of the weather has been crazy. I've only managed to get some laps in the wet, and unfortunately every time I've gotten it's been wet and not dry, so I've missed out on the dry. So yeah, if it stays dry, I'm going straight to qualifying and not even a single lap on the track, around the track in the dry, but it should be fun. In the end, to do the best we can, get the best out of both Julien and myself, and to get the best out of the car, and get in a good position for the race tomorrow, you know, and see what comes out of that.
Portuguese squad Nova driver will enter an Audi R8 this year as they make the step up to the FIA GT Series. Team boss Cesar Campanico will race alongside compatriot Carlos Vieira.
Our team is 100% Portuguese. Cesar has the experience from the last year, and I think he will be a big help for me to know the circuits. And well, hopefully we will do it good for the Pro-Am class.
Expect Nova driver to be towards the front. Last year's GT3 champion Dominic Baumann makes the step up to FIA GT Series this season with Grasser Lamborghini.
Our expectations are not really high. It was really short planned 1 week ago. So for the team and for the drivers, it's everything quite new. The car is really great to drive. Today or this weekend, I don't know if we can score some points. We are really happy.
Soft Rev Ferrari will field 2 458s this weekend. Gerard Tonelli will share with ex-French international goalkeeper Fabien Barthez.
But I'm here for enjoy really, and it's my second house here. You know, the Nogaro. I start to listen to drive here, and I'm here for enjoy.
In the sister car, Jean-Luc Bubulik will share with GT expert Sohail Ayari. And finally, RJN Nissan will field 2 cars this season, one for Mark Jositsky and Wolfgang Reip. The pair are very recent graduates from Nissan's GT Academy program, and Reip knows it'll be a tough year.
We are still learning, of course, so between the 10th and the 15th position, it's the target for this first race.
In the sister car, experienced racer Alex Buncombe will join Lucas Ordonez. So that's the lineup for this year. All that's left now is the racing. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to France for the first round of the 2013 FIA GT Series. It's the qualifying race that we've got coming up for you today from the Paul Armagnac circuit down in the southwest of France. My name is Jack Nichols. I'm here in the commentary box, and alongside me is John Watson. John, the weather has been up and down all weekend, but it's reasonably decent now. It looks like we might get a dry race for this one.
Well, first of all, happy Easter.
Happy Easter, John.
Happy Easter weekend in Nogaro. It's a traditional race weekend, and that's the best of the weather we've seen so far. 14 corners on this little 3.6 mile circuit. Wonderful circuit, very friendly. Doesn't have what you might call a neck-wrenching corner on it. A lot of them are second or third gear corners.
Absolutely, and there's a long back straight that leads down towards turn 7, which is where we're going to see most of the overtaking. As you say, 3.6 kilometres, 14 corners, and it's set to be a very, very entertaining race. So here's a look at the grid. We're on the right-hand side. You can see the pole car, which is René Rast, but there's the big story of the championship. Alvaro Parent in the car. He is sharing that McLaren with Sebastian Loeb, the 9 times World Rally champion. It's fantastic to have him on board.
Well, I mean, you look at the biggest names in the history of motorsport, Sebastian Loeb is right amongst them, and he's still an active rally driver in a sense, but he's not going to have a co-driver here today in the car with him. He's all on his own with a field of 22 other cars, and that's, while he has done Le Mans, a 24-hour race, this is a sprint race on a very much different style of circuit to Le Mans. So it's a big challenge for Sebastian Loeb to address. He said in the preview there that he wants to learn to be a racing driver. It's a vertical curve for him, and the eyes of France in particular, but the world in general, are on that man right now.
Well, there's an awful lot of French interest here for this race, because as well as Sebastian Loeb, we've also got Mike Parisi, who's from Pau, just down the road. He's a local man, went very well in qualifying. Unfortunately, he's been dropped back on the grid because of infringements, technical infringements. He will start in 8th place. We've also got the 1998 French World Cup winner, Fabien Barthez, the ex-Manchester United goalkeeper as well. He's out driving in the Pro-Am category because he's just out there for some fun, and it's good to see him out as well, and as a result the French fans have come in their droves. So here you can see the cars making their way around on the formation lap. The grid is thus: on pole position is the number 12 Belgian Audi Club team WRT R8 of René Rast, and alongside him on the front row, as we've already seen, Alvaro Parent. Row 2, we've got another Audi. It's Edward Sandstrom and Laurens Vanthoor. In fact, it's 2 WRT Audis on the second row of the grid. Then we get the first of our Nissans, which is very good to see. BMW Z4, started by Alain Cordair, is going to be very entertaining as well. Top drivers from Brazil have come to the FIA GT Series this year. And there's the other car, Sergio Jimenez driving that one. Alan Day starting in 9th place. Then we've got the Lamborghini in the field, started by Harry Projik. We've got Jay Seyfarth and Karun Chandok out there, the ex-Formula 1 driver in a Mercedes as well. Towards the back we've got Shositsky and Reep, who are going to be in the other Nissan. Cesar Campanico is 33 today, and unfortunately for him, and a bit of an early birthday present yesterday, was a 10-place grid penalty, so he's going to be starting down in 15th place, where he qualified in 5th. And bringing up the rear of the field, we've got Jan Stobacek starting that HTP Gravity Charouz machine, because Fabio Ordini and Philippe Salaquada, unfortunately in the AF Corsa car, won't be starting after Ordini had a strange accident yesterday in qualifying.
Yeah, he came out of turn 12 onto what would be the old pit straight here at Nagaro. He was warming up the tyres on a track that was still slick. He was on a slick tyre, weaving from side to side. But as he turned the wheel, he opened the throttle and the car snapped. And just simply, here we are looking at it, this part of racetrack went from the right of your screen across to the left. Now, I didn't think the incident looked particularly severe. Most of the damage was confined to what looked like radiators and bodywork, but subsequently the team discovered that there was substantial chassis damage.
So a 1 hour race to start the qualifying race of the 2013 FIA GT Series is go. When the lights go out, we wait for it. On pole position is René Rast as they head off towards the first corner then. It's not a great start from Alvaro Parent. It looks like Sandstrom has made his way up into second place. Parent's going to try and hold it all the way around the outside, and does so. Running wide towards the back is one of the HTP Gravity Charouz cars. He comes back on board just in front. That's Andres Simonsen at the wheel. And who is that off? Oh, that's a shame. Stefan Otelli, the local driver, the Frenchman, out of the race by the looks of it at the first corner.
Well, he just got squeezed. Too much traffic going into turn 2. Contact Audi in the gravel trap, and that car is out.
It looks like it. So, battles throughout the field at the moment, but it looks as though René Rast has managed to hold the lead as they head down towards turn 9. There's the Dawn Motorsport McLaren getting pushed onto the grass.
Bodywork flying as the cars came through turn 6 onto the straight. Don't know whose bodywork it is, but we'll get a glimpse in a second.
So, down into the turn 7 hairpin for the first time they come. Here's a little look at the inside from the door. That's going to be contact in there, isn't there? Yes, it's a spin. And once again, it's Andres Simonsen who's involved. And a real shame there, because that looks like it could be permanent damage for the 30 car of Sohail Ayari.
And that car's got radiator damage. Yeah. Water's flowing from the right-hand side of the car. It must have been the Ferrari who we saw the bodywork coming up through turn 6. So 2 cars, well, in fact 3 cars out in the opening lap.
Well, so that's a real shame for Andreas Simonsen in the number 2 HTP Gravity Charouz car. There is Stefan Otelli being towed in. Sorry, it's Laurens Vanthoor starting that car. My apologies, not Otelli. It's Vanthoor at the wheel. But as they come across to complete lap 1, it's very close to the lead of the race. They're weaving, trying to get some heat into the tyres as they come across the line. Safety car, though, has been deployed here at Nagaro, so we can catch our breath. René Rast leads, Alvaro Parent second, Edward Sandstrom into third. Alain Cordair, the Brazilian stock car racer, is up into 4th place, and Alex Buncombe 5th. Mike Parisi already up into 6th place, and where's Laurens Vanthoor going?
Well, he's on a very wet part of the racetrack. It's a muddy field, that's where he is, trying to get the car back. Now, he's had outside assistance, and he will be required to go back into the pit lane, and that'll be his race over.
So the safety car is out on circuit. There is Vanthoor, and absolutely he's pushed, well, he was towed out of the gravel trap, so there's no doubt that he will have to come back to the pits as the Vincent Voss watches on in the WRT garage. So we got down to 6th place Mike Parisi, 7th place is Jan Seyfarth, 8th is Harry Projik, 9th is the number 7 Road Drive Ford of Claudio Ricci, and in 10th place at the moment we've got Enzo E. There also, I presume, having received some outside assistance, is Andreas Simonsen. We didn't see it, but I imagine he did.
We don't know. We certainly saw him being rotated. Whether he had outside assistance or whether he was able to get everything under control in his own hands and get back onto the tail of this field of cars. We've had the Audi in the gravel trap. We had the Ferrari. It will be out because the damage to the front of the car included damage to the radiator, and if he doesn't bring that car into the pit lane, if it's not in there already, the engine in the Ferrari will not last too long.
So here's a look at Laurens Vanthoor. He's still out there on the circuit, isn't he? So it looks like he's going to try and continue as the cars are being led around by the safety car, being driven today by Didier Lescaut, the local man. And he is, well, he's the first of the Audis in what is a very, very rich Audi field, but we've lost one of them already. And there you can see, look at that bodywork. So I wonder if it was Alain Coder that got into the side of Vanthoor, perhaps.
It may be, because that was there was some part of the bodywork that was black carbon fibre, those air deflectors, the vanes on the front of the BMW, you can see the damage to the left front, and that may have been what was literally popping up in the air as we go back to the restart. So
let's see if we can spot exactly what happens. There you can see Alain Coder right on the inside. Vanthoor's all the way out there on the outside going into turn 2. A bit of dust kicked up on the outside. Now we want to keep an eye on the 11 Audi, which is the third Audi just there. Oh yeah, Coder gets into the side of him and sends him spinning around. You can see that quite clearly actually whilst we were watching Andreas Simonsen going wide at the back. That was where the contact occurred, and Laurens Vanthoor has to be out of the race, frankly, because he received the outside assistance. So the safety car deployed, and there's the discussion between Pierre Dieudonné and Vincent Voss.
Yeah, that's got any car that gets outside assistance, particularly from the corner workers. The car was towed from that gravel trap. To get it back to the racetrack must go to the pit lane.
So heading down towards turn 7, there's been reports of possible oil on the circuit down here, but we think that was just radiator fluid that was pouring out rather than oil.
Yeah, that was down at turn the end of the straight down into turn 7. Then it'll be fluid on the track, maybe water and oil, or just simply the water from the water radiator. But it'll be turn 7, 8, 9 until it finally runs out of fuel. Now Laurens Vanthoor is still on track. He's actually recorded the fastest sector times of all the sectors, even though he should technically not be in the race. Let's have a look and see.
So this was the Ferrari coming down. The McLaren had a little look up the inside here, whereas the Ferrari's hidden in behind the McLaren and just clouts the back of the Andreas Simonsen Gravity Charoux machine, and you can see the.
I mean, it's just like an eruption.
So unfortunate for Sohail Ayari, a very, very successful racer, Formula Ford festival winner, I think, at Brands Hatch many a moon ago.
He was going to be the follow-on from Alain Prost. He was meant to be the great hope for motor racing in France and single-seaters, be it ultimately Grand Prix, but he made an error. He tried to be either too ambitious or just misjudged it.
So we're on board with Alvaro Parent as the safety car comes in and the race gets back underway here in Nogaro. Parent hasn't got a great restart. René Rast has dealt with that very nicely and has a healthy gap as they come across the line. Half a second. There is Mike Parisi now battling with Jay Seyfarth coming into the first corner. And Parisi is now still ahead of Seyfarth. They were side by side. Parisi was ahead when the safety car came out, so he must have had a poor restart. But Alain Coder there in 4th place, and it was all fairly well behaved at the start of this restart as opposed to the start of the race. And there, so Laurens Vanthoor is still out and running, isn't he? So that's going to be an interesting one for the race director to decide what happens there. But René Rast beginning to pull away, 0.3 of a second quicker than Alvaro Parent in that first sector alone, so the gap is up to 0.8 of a second as they come down towards the hairpin. There's battles going on towards the back here.
And Alex Bunkerman, the Nissan, right over the back of the BMW, had a thought about looking down the inside, chose to go back to the left-hand side to give him space to get the Nissan slowed down, but strong performance from this Nissan GT Academy car.
Absolutely. Sergio Jimenez, we're watching the number 21 BMW, is coming under quite a lot of pressure, actually, from the number 16 door McLaren of Daniel Kilvitz, as we go back on board with second place man Alvaro Parent towards the final 2 corners at 13 and 14. Parent's an expert McLaren driver, isn't he? He was part of the development process of the whole car and very highly regarded in Woking.
Absolutely, he is an outstanding driver in my opinion, and he's probably the driver who's had the most mileage of any in an McLaren MP4 12C to give it its full title, and chasing down the Audi. But for some reason, and we saw this last year, Audi really seemed very suited to the Nogaro circuit, partly I believe because it is a circuit of relatively low speed corners, and whereas something like the McLaren behind, with the aerodynamics that car has, may well come alive on the faster circuits, particularly when you've got more high speed corners. But we're at Nogaro, and we've got an Audi leading, and René Rast, who's accustomed to having the engine behind the rear axle as a Porsche driver, now he's got the engine ahead of the rear axle. Said the car's more precise to drive, can't slide it around like you do in a Porsche. But look, we're seeing Alvaro Parente right now closes up to the rear wing of the lead René Rast Audi.
Very, very close between the two of them as they come into this back section where the circuit winds in on itself before they accelerate down towards the start-finish line. There's third place man Edward Sandstrom. He's an experienced Audi driver as well. Competed in the Blancpain Endurance Series last season with WRT. And then Alain Cadet in fourth place. But Alvaro Parente is looking very, very strong in these early stages as they head towards the final two corners at 13 and 14 once more. This is an hour-long race. There's a pit stop window that opens with 35 minutes to go and closes with 25 minutes to go, so a 10-minute pit stop window in the middle there. And so that is going to be where some very, very interesting things are going to take place, because René Rast is in the Pro-Am Cup. Most of these front runners are in the Pro Cup, but when René Rast comes in, he'll be handing over to Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, who, whilst a very good racer, doesn't have the amount of experience of those rivals around him.
No, but it's still a very strong partnership, and René Rast really, I think, has put a few people on their heels with the performance he's shown in the Audi. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof will know that he's going to have to deliver with a driver of that quality as his co-driver.
So out onto the back straight comes Jay Seyfarth. And here's another attack from Alvaro Parente. Sparks flying from the front of René Rast's car, and he very cleverly holds on and turns into the corner at the very last minute to block off any chance of a cutback from Alvaro Parente. But I think Alvaro is going to have his work cut out to get past René Rast here, because René is used to very close racing. He's won the Porsche Super Cup the last 3 years in a row. There's his teammate Meyer-Melnhof looking a little nervous on the in the pits there.
Yes, I mean, when you race in a one-make series, everybody's got equal equipment. You've got to be able to defend your position, be it the lead or wherever. And what René Rast is doing right now, leading this race, is defending, but he's doing it in a fair way. He's forcing Alvaro Parente. If Parente feels he's got the chance, he's going to have to go the longer way around any of the corners, especially the run down into turn 7, where the McLaren does pick up a bit of aero from the back of the Audi and gets a chance, as we see a defence from Parisi. Mercedes trying to get up alongside the second of the Sebastian Loeb. McLaren's Parisi is in 6th.
Yep, and it's a very, very close battle between the two of them. And Jay Seyfarth working the wheel there. On that last lap, Rast and Parente at the front, their lap times were separated by only 0.02 of a second. It's astonishingly close between the pair of them in that lead battle, but it's also close here in this battle over 6th place, because Mike Parisi's coming under some pressure now. We'll see what kind of straight line speed the Mercedes has here, with Jay Seyfarth tucked right in. Parente's not close enough this time to have a look, I don't think. René Rast covers the middle ground just to be sure.
But the car I'm going to keep an eye on is the third place of Edward Sandstrom. He's the second of those Audis. He's watching this battle. He's just got himself into a position where if there's any kind of contact, anything that might see one of these two lead cars trip over one another, he is ideally placed to benefit from it.
Absolutely so. Down towards where the old pit lane used to be, the old pit complex, until they had regeneration here at Nogaro a few years ago, a new pit complex, new pit buildings, and it's turned it into a very nice racetrack, a very pleasant place to be, and you can see that from all the fans that have turned up to have a watch of the action this afternoon. More expected tomorrow for the Easter Monday main race, but across the line they come. Half a second still separating Rast and Parente. It's been like that pretty much non-stop, and here is, look how hard Mike Parisi is having to defend now, and well, they've both got past Alex Buncombe at some point. Here comes Jay Seyfarth around the outside of Mike Parisi. Seyfarth up into 5th place. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Alex Buncombe though, because he was up there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in 6th place. Now he's dropped back down to 7th. So there is the Nissan, we're seeing it behind Mike Parisi, getting held up, in fact, by Mike Parisi. It's actually maybe Mike Parisi is the driver, and he's run very, very wide, and there's contact, but something is wrong with Parisi's car. He's dropped back now behind Buncombe. Buncombe's back up to 6th place. Parisi's down to 7th, and that little bit of contact, there may have been something that's maybe as simple as a tyre problem, but there, now Buncombe coming under pressure.
Front right puncture for Mike Parisi, that's the problem. Alex Buncombe now is having to go defensive because Harry Procek is trying to get past him. Harry Procek running in the Grasser Lamborghini, the team run and set up very late really by Gottfried Grasser. They weren't planning on entering this series until about a week ago, but that's a real shame for Mike Parisi, because that's going to put him back on the grid for the main race, because he'll have to pit to change that front right puncture. But this is now one big long queue over 6th position effectively, with Alex Buncombe at the head of it, then Harry Procek, then Enzo Ede, then Julien Juste driving the BMW Team India machine. Good performance from them so far, and he's got Claudio Ricci behind, and then Alan Day. So a right little queue coming through the final corner as they head out onto the start-finish line again. Gap at the front down to 4/10.
Yeah, Harry Procek's got his hands full here trying to get past the Nissan. We know that that V8 Nissan engine's got tons of torque as well as straight line squirt. It may not necessarily have the nimbleness of the Lamborghini in this tighter circuit, but when it comes to there's the McLaren of Mike Parisi, and well, that's a disappointment for the Sebastian Loeb team. That car into the pits, and it'll get back out again, but the prospects of anything are over.
So into the left-hander they come in, comes Mike Parisi, and there is that front right puncture we mentioned. Luckily these guys are very well trained with their pit stop, but he will have to still come back in to do his mandatory pit stop. That's the real disappointment for Parisi, as he fires the car up and heads away again.
All he can hope for, and we don't want to see it, is another safety car intervention. That would allow him to close up to the tail of the group of cars, but again then he's got to do all the hard work to get himself up through the field of cars.
And behind Alan Day there in the #1 Mercedes, we've also got the 14 Cesar Campanico Nova driver machine, and here's a look at the replay. So this is Jay Seyfarth going around the outside of Mike Parisi, who was already struggling.
Yeah, he was struggling. He had a right front puncture. We don't know where that picked up, but he was already struggling. That's why Seyfarth was able to get past the car. I actually thought the reason that the Mercedes was going so quickly was because the entire family, Seyfarth, actually stay in the racetrack, in their truck. They've got bunks inside it. They're all sleeping there. It's only Karun Chandru, ex-Formula 1 driver, who's in a hotel.
Excellent. So a real team effort from Jay Seyfarth and the rest of the crew. But here is the battle then for the lead of the race. René Rast still holding on, and I predict Rast will stay out as long as is possible into the pit stop window, which is going to open in some 10 minutes time as they come down the back straight. Sandstrom is only 1.2 seconds behind Alvaro Parent, who is really pushing René Rast, trying to force Rast into a mistake, but it's not working so far.
It's certainly not a lot between these two cars. They've got their strengths around the racetrack. There's no doubt in my mind if Parent was able to get ahead of René Rast, he would pull away. But the issue is always, if you can't get past the car you're competing with, then that extra pace is of no benefit. But the hustling that is going on from Alvaro Parent on René Rast, well, there's a disappointed man. 43 yesterday, and not much to celebrate today.
Vanthor's still out there. He's in 13th place on the road, but as we say, he got towed out of the gravel, so that's not usually allowed. Here's Fabian Barthez battling with Felipe Tozzo. Barthez in the red machine. Tozzo in front in the Ford GT. And it's the Sofrev ASP car that are, or the Sofrev ASP team that are running Fabian Barthez as he looks towards the inside line. Not quite able to make a move yet, and he's been stuck behind Tozzo for a couple of laps now in the battle over. Well, this is for the lead in the Gentleman's Trophy, actually, so whoever gets ahead here will end up winning the Gentleman's Trophy, unless Jan Stováček can make a bit of a bit more progress, but he's 4 seconds back down the road as Barthez has a little nose towards the inside line once more. Here's the battle for the lead again, and René Rast knows if he just holds that inside line, he'll be all right. Parent unable to find a way past just yet. Out towards the double left-hander at 9 and 10. I'm surprised Sandstrom isn't closing in a little bit quicker, because these two are compromising their lines into pretty much most of the corners.
Well, I think the reason Sandstrom isn't doing it is because he knows he doesn't actually have to do that. Well, these two lead cars are battling for the lead. He doesn't want to be so close that if they do have contact or there's something that causes an incident, that he may get drawn into it. So he's running just a second or so behind the second place Parent. Ideally placed, should, let's say, a rush of blood to the head of either of these two cars, René Rast or Alvaro Parent, and the race could be his.
out onto the start-finish straight. 2012 was a very successful year for René Rast. He clinched the Porsche Super Cup for the 3rd time in a row. He also finally managed to get his hands on the German Porsche Carrera Cup for the 2nd time after a season-long battle with Sean Edwards. Pierre Dieudonné, the boss of WRT, watching on, or well, part of the Audi team. In a very, very close battle for the lead here at Nogaro. Very entertaining stuff. And it's all going to be very interesting when Mayor Melnhof takes over, because you would say perhaps that WRT may have the advantage as far as pit stop goes, because they have experience of pit stops. A lot of the teams that are new to this kind of racing with the pit stops and the tyre changes are going to struggle a little bit.
Yes, I mean, there's some teams that are accustomed to doing the pit stop under pressure, and let's get a look again. And
so this is the start of the race again, isn't it? And we're going to see a replay of Laurens Vanthoor getting tapped around by Alain Cordet. And so towards the right-hander, I wonder, I mean, that would be harsh, I think, if race control ended up penalising the drivers at all, because it's very, very close into that second corner and the concertina effect.
Well, I think that the issue is always, is it an avoidable incident? And when cars are that close in the opening lap, it's very difficult on occasions, especially in these enclosed cars, because they don't, marker, bollard in the middle of the racetrack, and that might be reason for a safety car intervention, because race director may deem that something that is a hazard.
Yeah, potentially, as they come through the next few corners. This is actually René Rast and Alvaro Parent are actually battling over the lead of the championship at the moment, because they both have picked up 1 point, because the fastest qualifier from each of the 3 classes picks up a point for taking pole position. So these two are in the joint lead of the championship at the moment.
Well, just looking at the back straight. Just looking at the lead 2 cars, they've now opened up a 13-second gap between 1st and 2nd, and down in 6th place, which is Alex Buncombe in the Nissan. He's dropped back from this battle of the 5 cars. You can just see the 5th car, the Mercedes, coming onto the back straight, and Alvaro Parent once again trying to find a way around, the long way around, but he hasn't got enough speed. And René Rast is doing what you describe as a very professional job in placing the Audi precisely where Alvaro Parent wants to place the McLaren.
Absolutely, a very, very experienced racer, René Rast, a very, very impressive career as well. German Porsche Carrera Cup champion back in 2008, and then since then winning everything in Super Cups, as well as competing in things like the Spa 24 Hours with Audi.
Oh, here's a question.
Okay.
René Rast is going to hand over to Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
Yeah.
Alvaro Parent's going to hand over to Sebastian Loeb. Which of the 2 packages, the Loeb-Melnhof, or who do you think will gain any advantage? Will Loeb have the advantage over Nicky Meyer-Melnhof?
Well, here's Fabian Barthez getting past Felipe Toto. A little bit of rubbing on the doors there, but finally Barthez is through and up into the lead of the Gentleman's Trophy class. So, good move there from the Frenchman.
Yeah, and let's see if his lines around the racetrack now take on a different line to those when he was running behind the Ford, because some of the lines he was taking, let's say, were interesting.
Quite potentially, but going back to Loeb and Meyer-Melnhof, you have to think that Sebastian Loeb would be the stronger of the 2 of them, as they head down the back straight once more towards turn 7, and there's the crowd watching on as they battle into this corner. And again, Parent, has he got enough of an overlap? Not quite. René Rast is driving the widest Audi you've ever seen. Parent's nosing towards the inside, towards turn 9. Not quite close enough, but I think Parent has come to the conclusion that it's got to be something a bit different if he wants to get past René.
Well, what you want to do is just frustrate the driver that you're chasing down, try and make him start looking for you. Maybe get out of the line that you've been using for the previous 6, 7 or so laps, 13 laps in fact we're on now, and just get the driver to distract from his concentration looking forward. And that's something that you possibly could do as you come to the end of the straight, then turns 9, 10, 11 and 12. They're all low speed corners, but they all offer opportunities to just frustrate the lead car.
Into turns 1 and 2 again. It's still not yet time for the pit stop window to open. I think it'll be the end of the next lap they will be able to come in. Incidents involving 11 and 0 at the start is under investigation now.
Parent back into the McLaren, started to step out. He was under brakes going through the very long turn 4, then into turn 5. Semi-bank corner now. The car flat out through turn 6 onto this back straight. Alvaro Parente needs, now I think he's quite well placed this time. He's closer than he was on other occasions. Can he get alongside before the brakes and maybe do something? This is his best shot to date.
But René Rast surely will just hold the inside line and force Parente to go around the outside. Parente gets the cutback, but that'll give him the... Oh, he has to dab on the brakes there, going into the kink at 8. Very, very close racing between the two of them. And René Rast, the positive for Rast is that he's never moving back towards the outside. Even if Parente moves back towards the outside, Rast doesn't follow and allow Parente to sell the dummy.
No, I mean, René Rast is a very shrewd, clever race driver. He knows the strengths he's got, and he knows how to use the Audi, use it, that strength. There's certain parts of the racetrack where the McLaren clearly has got an advantage, but it's not an advantage sufficiently large to allow Alvaro Parente to snatch the lead, and it's all going to happen probably down at turn 7 all the way through to the exit of turn 12. Elsewhere around the racetrack, it's pretty much even, Stevens. Going into turn 1, then into the right hand of turn 2. Nothing between the two cars, nothing between the two drivers. Then this very long, sort of real car torturing turn 4, which just goes and goes and goes. Then a short little sprint. You can see the exit of 4. It's almost one corner. Some people make it 2 corners. Then through 5. Now, this is where Parente has got to do the best work he can. And look at the gap, how much of it's opened up on the exit of 5. The Audi's pulled an advantage over the McLaren on the exit of 5. And that's really the reason why Alvaro Parente's struggling. Now you say, look, René Rast doesn't even have to go to the right of the racetrack to defend.
Oh, Parente had a little dart out, didn't he?
Yeah, he lost ground on the exit of 5.
Absolutely.
You could see the Audi just jumped ahead, pulled out of almost maybe a second in that one corner, which gave him the comfort zone. So when he came down the straight, he stayed on the left-hand side of the straight, didn't even have to defend.
Edward Sandstrom still in 3rd place, but dropping back from those two all the time. Now we're watching car number 6, which is Julien Jus, the ex-Formula 2 driver, going through the left-hander. There's Alex Buncombe then, he's in 6th position. Jay Seyfarth up ahead is in 5th position. The pit stop window is open then, so from now on, drivers can come in to change all 4 tyres and swap the drivers as well. So seeing who will come in first will be interesting.
I wonder, would McLaren bring in Parente at the earliest opportunity, get him out of this battle that's been going on all race with René Rast, let Sébastien Loeb get into the car, and then get out onto the racetrack and make his own luck? Or are they going to keep Parente in until the last moment?
Well,
the first 2 cars coming in already.
Yeah, Enzo Eid, that is coming into the pits, I believe, as he pulls in. Yes, he is, so he's going to hand over to Anthony Kumpen at the earliest possible opportunity. Alan Day also in to hand into Maximilian Buch, and Lawrence Van Thoren as well to hand over to Stefan Ortelli. We'll have to wait and see exactly whether there's any point in them doing this ultimately at the end of the race, as Van Thoren climbs out of the car. Ortelli gets in, puts his little booster seat in, and gets his belt stand up. Still the battle going on. Every time we cut to the shot down at turn 7, it's the same thing. The stewards have announced that that little incident with Sohail Ayari and Andreas Simonsen down at turn 7 on the opening lap, no further action will be taken, as Stefan Ortelli heads back out onto the race circuit. Quite close to picking up the number 1 Mercedes there, as they come back out onto the racetrack. Here's Anthony Kumpen then. There is number 1. Maximilian Buch, he's going to be a very, very quick driver. It'll be interesting to see how far he can climb up the field. Are either of these two going to come in this time around? No. They're going to stay out there, going to keep flogging away out there, and perhaps McLaren are hoping that they will be able to make the jump in the pit stops. I mean, the thing is, okay, you bring in and you send out Sébastien Loeb, but will Loeb really be able to outpace the man who took pole position, René Rast? It's a very, very difficult one.
Well, I think what we're saying now is that these 2 lead cars are going to just stay out on until the last possible moment, and it's going to be down to the teamwork between the BMW, Audi team and the McLaren team, and then it'll be down to the 2 drivers, Nicky Meyer-Melhoff and Sébastien Loeb. I don't see them now coming in. They could have done it early, in particular, I think, for Alvaro Parente, and let Loeb get out and not have to face the battle. Here the battle again. And look how much they've pulled in Edward Sundstrom in the last number of laps. I mean, that gap now is up to about 6 seconds between 2nd and 3rd place.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a cracking battle. We just just saw a glimpse of it there. Alain Coder has been reeled in by Jay Seyfarth in the battle over 4th place, so that Mercedes is looking very strong. We've got a problem here, haven't we, for Frank Stimpler. They're taking it very easy in the pit lane. Lots of waving, lots of gesticulation, so I think, unfortunately, our 3rd place car is in a little bit of trouble now. 32 minutes remaining in this race. This is the battle for the lead. René Rast leading, Alvaro Parent in 2nd place. Are either of them going to pit this time around? Nope, they stay out. And really, in the last few laps, Parent hasn't been as close, has he, to René Rast?
Well, I think that running behind a car, as we've seen Alvaro Parent do all this race, there's always an issue about you end up running at the pace of the car that you're following. So either you drop back a little bit and then pick up the momentum and have another go, as we look and see this battle going on straight into turn 7.
Now this is Stefano Ortelli getting passed around the outside by Maximilian Buch. Very good move from Buch. Ortelli sticking it in there. Clouts over the curbs on the inside line, but that move is made.
Yeah, and if he had clipped the back of the Mercedes, that would have been an avoidable incident. So Stefan Ortelli decided, I'll have a look, but I don't think I'm going to make it, and he chose correctly.
Very muddy rear of the car after Laurens Vanthoor tried to go the opposite way to Sebastian Loeb, really, and try his hand at rallying. 31 minutes to go. Here's the battle for the lead once more. Still no move being made. Very, very close between them, but that battle for 3rd place is going to be interesting now, because it's going to be between, when he comes out, Karun Chandhok in the 28 Seyfarth car and Kaka Bueno in the number 0 Team Brazil BMW, so that'll be one to watch. But the big news up at the front is this battle. I mean, ultimately they're in different classes, so it's not the be-all and end-all, but these drivers want to win the race.
I mean, René Rast is a professional race driver, but he's driving with Nicky Meyer-Manhoff, and he is a sort of semi-professional amateur driver. A Silver Star rating, which is pretty high nevertheless.
So there is our 3rd place car, Jay Seyfarth, coming down towards turn 1. As Alvaro Parent continues to push. And into the pits now comes the Lamborghini of Harry Procek. He's going to come in and hand over to Dominic Baumann, last year's FIA GT3 European champion. So he's come in from, well, it was 5th place, but some people had stopped in front. Sebastian Loeb
getting ready.
Getting ready then to take over.
And I wonder what his little heart's going, what rate's his heart pumping at, because look, Parent right on the back of the Audi coming down. He's going to try and pull up alongside. He's going to have to go the very long way around. René Rast is mega on the brakes. And I mean, literally on the outside of the Audi. Again, hasn't got the space to make it stick.
He's going to have a little nose towards the inside line. Look how close these two are running. Fantastic onboard pictures there. It shows you just how tough it is to race one of these GT cars around Nogaro, under the Dunlop Bridge now. Down a few gears on the paddle shift gearbox. Now, are we expecting Parent to come in this time around? Because Loeb was looking like he was pretty much ready. Obviously, that's going to be mainly as a precaution more than anything. But they stay out. They stay out some more across the line. The gap is still half a second between them.
Well, 2.5 minutes to go before the pits close, so they're going to probably come in at the end of the lap that they're presently on, which is lap 21. So Sebastian Loeb just doing the professional thing, being prepared in case Parent did come in that one lap earlier. Well, there's a problem. Oh, now that was certainly get a penalty for driving. Not only does he drive across it on the entry, he goes back over the white line to swing into the pits. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, how basic is that?
Julien Jousse might be in a little bit of trouble there, because cutting the pit lane entry is definitely not allowed.
Here we
go. They come down the back straight. Parent is going to look again. René Rast knows this is his race line by now. I think he's so used to it that even if Parent wasn't behind, he'd drive down the inside of the road. Parent will try and hold out the outside, but it's never going to come off. Car 6 under investigation for cutting white line at pit entry.
Well,
I don't think it'll be a long investigation.
What a surprise.
I don't think they'll get Poirot.
Okay, maybe he thinks I'm a French driver in France, I can do that on Easter Sunday, but no, you can't.
Down towards the final two corners, so we're expecting... Yeah, we are going to be... They might be able to squeeze another... They will be able to squeeze another lap out of this. And actually, Mike Parisi is in to hand over to Andy Zuber, so I'd be surprised if McLaren came in now, because they're already a little bit busy as they come into the final two corners. Into the pits comes René Rast then to hand over to Nicky Melnhof. WRT, very strong, but Parent has clear air.
Yeah, Parent's got clear air, but he hasn't got a lot of time to spare. By the time he completes this lap, he's going to be just about 10 seconds or 15 seconds within the pit stop window closing. But it allows Alvaro Parent. His last lap was a 1:28.1. Unfortunately, we're not going to find out what his current lap is because he's going to come into the pits in that current lap. But he should be able to make up, let's say, 3 or 4 tenths of a second. That's all it takes.
Well, here's the pit stop going on. Just one more wheel to go. Fairly swift pit stop by the sounds of it as the Audi heads back out then. Behind is one of the back-marking Ferraris, I think. Yep, that's Fabien Barthez, who's now handed over to Gerard Donnelly. As they exit the pit lane, and now we've also got the Door McLaren in there, and that looks like quite a long stop going on for them, unfortunately.
Yes, well, it's the left-hand drive car, and the right-hand door is open, yeah, so I think there's an issue, probably something with electronics, which is normally the reason why they're diving into that side of the car. Alvaro Parent, he's been frustrated for basically 21 laps of this race. He's now had clear air, and he's going to have to come into the pit window. No, he's going to have to come in now because it's less than a minute, and he can't take another lap in less than a minute. If he does, he'll win this race. Yeah, there he goes. Watch the white line. Oh, he just about gets it in. Hard on the brakes, really nails the brakes, turning into the left, right to get onto the pit lane.
So this is the big moment in the race so far. Into the pits comes Alvaro Parent. Can they get the McLaren in and out before the Audi comes past? That's going to be the big task. In comes Loeb.
Remember,
look at this, great view.
In his earlier life, Sebastian Loeb was a gymnast. And he is mega fit and supple. And you could just see him getting into the car. I mean, it was just poetry in motion, the way he just got in. They've no doubt practiced this many times before they come to Navarro. Tightens down the belts. He's happy. Left front's going to go on. There is the Audi.
I think Melnhof has done this, you know. He's coming down the start-finish straight now. Loeb heads out, but it's comfortable for Nicky Melnhof, the Sebastian Loeb Racing team. Very good, very professional outfit, but they don't have the tyre-changing experience of the WRT squad. And Sebastian Loeb then comes out in second place. Melnhof leads, and I think it'll be Karun Chandhok in third place.
It'll be interesting to see how Karun Chandhok gets on, because first weekend in his racing career internationally he's ever raced with a roof on.
Left foot braking here, John, so what's that all about? A lot of the single-seater drivers will be right foot.
Yes, no, a lot of single-seater drivers today are left foot as well, but in the case of a GT car, the majority of drivers are right foot brakers. Sebastian Loeb is a rally driver by profession, and all the braking done by a rally driver is left foot, except when you use your hand to pull the handbrake on and your left foot to do this. So, I mean, it's a second nature to him. He just drives with 2 feet. He doesn't even have to think about it. Watch his feet. On the throttle now, full throttle. Off it again to balance the steering and the throttle. On the brakes. I mean, it's just completely natural for Sebastian Loeb to do what we're just watching from the cockpit camera shot.
So he has now got to chase down Nicky Melnhof in the lead of this race. Melnhof, who had mainly been racing with BMW in the past, the Vita One team, who, well, Michael Bartels was here on Thursday actually, looking after the number 6 BMW, which is the Team India BMW. So Bartels was here, and they're hoping to get a car out for Zolder in a couple of weeks' time, the next round of this series.
It was interesting just on that first out lap of Sebastian Loeb in the second sector. He's actually recorded the fastest sector time of anybody, and that was on his out lap. So, you know, this guy, he's world champion in rallies 9 times, and he's very impressive on that opening lap of his stint. So it's 23 minutes remaining.
So it's actually Maximilian Buch who's up into third place. I don't know what happened to Jay Seyfarth and Karun Chandhok, but they have dropped from 3rd down to 7th position, having made their pit stops. And everyone now has come into the pits because the window is closed. So the order is Melnhof leading, Sebastian Loeb in 2nd place, Maximilian Buch in 3rd. 4th position is Anthony Kumpen in the Phoenix Racing Audi. 5th place is Stefano Telli, but we've mentioned that a couple of times. The Nova driver car of Carlos Vieira is in 6th place. Good work for them. They're 2nd also in Pro-Am. And then Karun Chandhok is in 7th position, but hasn't changed over his transponder yet. Amani Ibrahim 8th. Kaka Bueno in 9th. and Ricardo Zonta in 10th. So it's a shame for the Brazilian team as well that they've dropped down, probably because again in the pit stops. But there's Alvaro Parent, little wave, and not delighted with how it's gone.
No, he'll feel that he was frustrated, but René Rast did everything that he was required to do, running very, very wide on the exit of turn 14. And Sebastian Loeb has closed down. His lap time is quicker. That's
1 second
bunch
quicker.
of time. I mean, you can see it. I mean, when they came out of the pits 2 laps ago, the gap was over 2 seconds. Now it's down to within, well, the best part of a second and a bit. As we look at the 3rd place, the Mercedes-Benz, that's in fact, yes, that is Maximilian Buch.
Yep, 3rd place for Maximilian Buch at the moment. A bit of flapping rear right bodywork on the door of Anthony Kumpen as he's got Stefan Ortelli now right behind him. It's actually very handy that Ortelli's been through the mud, because that makes it easy to differentiate from the other WRTs, because it's a little bit tough at
It's the
times.
first Audi I've ever seen racing in international Prague racing colours. I know my Hexagon Brabham was in 19 God knows when. But
those are the days.
Yeah,
into turn 5 now, and out onto the back straight.
Ferrari just swung very wide coming through turn 5. In fact, it was the second.
It was the Nova driver car of Carlos Vieira. Ortelli having some little looks to try and put off Anthony Kumpen, but Kumpen himself is a very experienced racer, raced in FIA GT for a long time, made his debut in FIA GT back in 1999 and was runner-up in 2009 in the old FIA GT series. As they wind their way through the back section of the circuit now, this is all over the battle for 4th place and 3rd in class, because the race leader Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, well, the gap at the front is down to 1.1 seconds, which is going to be very interesting. Ortelli wrestling with the car.
Well, it'll be interesting to see that lead as we go on board with Stefan Ortelli, who's trying to make up for all the misfortunes of Lawrence van Thorpe, who got punted off in turn 1 on the opening lap. But Sebastian Loeb, when he came across the line the last lap, 1.1 seconds behind, will he be able to be more successful in getting ahead of the lead Audi than we saw Alvaro Parent with René Rast when he was behind the wheel of the lead car?
Well, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof does have a little less experience than René Rast, so there's a potential that Loeb might be able to outfox Meyer-Melnhof a little better.
Yeah, but how much experience has Loeb got?
True point.
I mean, you don't overtake in a rally stage, well, you shouldn't really.
No, you shouldn't. Down towards the hairpin comes this continuing battle. There we've got Gerard Tonelli, the leader of the Gentleman's Trophy at the moment. And I'm hearing that car number 6, which is under investigation, that Julien Jus, may have had a puncture as he came into the pits, which meant that he couldn't, which is why he went over the white line on the pit entry.
Well, you know,
is the rumour.
It'll be investigated, but now we've got the battle that we have enjoyed up until the round of pit stops. Now it's effectively part 2, but with 2 different drivers.
Down towards the first corner they come then. The gap is down to just 0.6 of a second, and now we're going to see Sebastian Loeb. He wanted to come here to learn to be a racing driver, and there's no more crucial skill than overtaking for the lead of the race when you're a racing driver. On board we go with the 9 times World Rally champion. Meyer-Melnhof taking a slightly different line, using it as 2 apex, whereas 2 apeces, I should say, as Loeb more hugged the inside line.
Takes a lot of lock on the McLaren, Sebastian Loeb, the onboard shots through turns 5, 4 and 5 principally, then picks up the slipstream, begins to catch to the back of the Audi, but the straight isn't long enough. He has a look down the inside. Look, this guy is braver than Dick Tracy, and if he thinks there's a sniff of a chance, I suspect he's going to take it, and he's now putting the Audi of Meyer-Melnhof under pressure. But again, saying the same as René Rast, it's blocking off the opportunities. Coming into turn 9, into turn 10, both second gear corners, not much chance to have a run down the inside, then the short sprint down into what would be the penultimate corner on the original circuit layout. Now it's turn 12, turn 11 and 12.
Don't forget, this isn't just about, well, it isn't really about championship points. The winner of the race only picks up 8 points. It's about setting the grid for tomorrow's main race. So that is why it's so important. If you can be on pole, you have the inside line for turn 1 and and the furthest place forward on the grid, obviously, which gives you a huge advantage. We saw second place on the grid man today, Alvaro Perrin, almost getting shuffled out of the first corner, so it's going to be very, very interesting to watch. There is Perrin watching on.
And I think you might say intently.
Yeah, intently, very true. As they come through the double right-hander, Maximilian Buch is all alone for third place. He's got it very, very easy.
Watch the Audi on the exit of turn 5. It's here that they've got probably the singular... some
and
part
that's
damage.
Ortelli.
Tyre.
There must be a tyre rubbing on the rear right axle there for Stefan Ortelli. Oh, sorry, the rear right bodywork.
No, it's been hit pretty severely.
He's
So
had a
that's
biff.
bodywork rubbing as we go back to the lead, to the battle for the lead.
And Loeb, look at that on the brakes, almost getting alongside.
Yes,
he's trying to go around the outside of the hairpin. Mehmanov holds it in there. He runs him right towards the outside of the circuit, and Mehmanov holds on for the moment. That was close.
I think for a fraction of a second, I think Sebastian Loeb may well have had the nose of the McLaren ahead of the nose of the Audi, but he was on the outside, and again running close. I don't think they had any contact, but you couldn't have had much space between these two cars, and a great battle. I mean, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof having to defend is very much the same way as René Rast did, but with the less experienced racing driver Sebastian Loeb behind him. But he doesn't look very inexperienced to me.
No, absolutely not. So Mehmanov comes across the line. He's got a reputation for some fierce defending as Nicky Mehmanov. I remember him pushing Laurens Vanthoor onto the grass at Slovakia Ring. And talking of Laurens Vanthoor, there's his car in the hands of Stefan Ortelli in a gravel trap. I think that's just parked up by the looks of things, isn't it?
I'm not quite sure.
Oh no, he's not going again, so he must have spun. This is Andres Zuber getting all wiggly as he tries to go past Wolfgang Reip. And that
What are they
is,
doing way down in 15th? Obviously, I know the puncture for Mike Parisi, but I thought they might have been able to do a little bit more than that. Anyway, Andreas Zuber down in 15th. Team Boss, second.
Yep. Down towards the hairpin they come, and Mehmanov needs to cover the inside line because Loeb's going to put it there, and I'm afraid that's going to be the lead of the race for Sebastian Loeb, is it? No! Well, Mehmanov well and truly squeezed.
I'm going down to Park Fermé to do the interviews with the drivers, lead first 3 places, and I will love to see the body action between the 2 Audi and the 2 McLaren drivers, because they'll have tales to tell.
Absolutely.
There'll be a lot of if, ands or buts in their summaries of their races.
Mehmanov needed to hold the inside line earlier, didn't he? We could see it coming, and we've seen on the last lap how good Loeb was on the brakes.
Loeb is extremely good on the brakes, and he put the car down the inside. He had no margin to the right. He couldn't go anywhere, and the Audi was just continuing to squeeze. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Loeb had to take a little bit of the curb on the inside into turn 9 to avoid the contact that otherwise was inevitable.
So Ortelli comes into the pits with damage, so it's a real miserable day for the number 11 WRT squad. But the number 12 car is out in the lead of the race at the moment. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof with some vigorous defending. There is Ortelli. Sounds like we're getting some tyres changed on that car. And then he may well head back out, because get to the end of the race and, you know, it'll give you grid position for tomorrow, which if you start 16th or 20th, it could make a difference. And we're going to see a replay. Well, this is just the rear right. Yeah.
I mean, that was a big smack in the right rear of the car. Then he runs very wide, going through turn
there he goes.
9, and he just pivots around, and the car spins through 360 degrees, and eventually got it going.
So he's back out again for another shot at this one, the very war-wounded number 11 Audi R8 LMS, as we go on board with Sebastian Loeb. 13 minutes to go here at Nogaro. Sebastian Loeb is in second place, trying his hardest to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, but at the moment the Austrian driver is holding on in front. On the brakes, through the final 2 corners and out onto the start-finish straight again to complete their 30th lap of the race so far in what has been really dominated by this battle for the lead. There's been great scraps throughout, but it's this lead battle that's kept all our attentions.
Well, the number 1 drivers, let's call them that, were pretty evenly matched, and the co-drivers in respective cases equally matched. And Sebastian Loeb, though, very, very keen to win this qualifying race this afternoon.
So, through the Back section they come again and out onto the long the long back straight. There's Anthony Kumpen there. 4th place for him at the moment, and he's got a 4.1 second advantage over Carlos Vieira in 5th place. So that's good for them, and Karun Chandhok is up into 6th place, quite close behind Carlos Vieira actually. So that might be a battle worth watching, although Vieira pulled out from Chandhok on that last lap. Ricardo Zonta and Kaka Bueno are in 8th and 9th positions at the moment, the two BMW cars, and they've got Lucas Ordonez right behind them, completing the top 10. But it's the battle for the lead that's the one to watch.
And there's one key corner on this racetrack, and that to me is turn 5. That's where the Audi can steal a few yards over the McLaren, and whether it's Alvaro Parente or Sebastian Loeb and the McLaren, that's where they're losing, and it's a key part of the racetrack, because that leads on to the fastest part of the racetrack. If Loeb could get the McLaren to stick to the tail of the Audi through 5, then he would have a realistic chance of getting alongside before he got onto the brakes into turn 9.
Maximilian Buch is running about a second a lap quicker than those guys in front of him. I don't think, well, he hasn't got long enough left to really close in, but that could be a combination to watch going into the future. If they hadn't had troubles in qualifying, which meant they weren't allowed to go through to Superpole, then it could have been different.
There's Karun Chandhok.
Yep.
Running in...
He's in 6th position there. Transponder issues there, so he's not coming up as being the driver. There's Carlos Vieira, 5th place. Here is some lappery going on, going past the number 3 HTP Gravity Charouz Mercedes, now in the hands of Peter Charouz, the young man from the Czech Republic, who's only really competed in the Blancpain Super Trofeo so far this season. And, well, this was Loeb's kind of closest opportunity. He got well in front, didn't he?
Well, it was half a car length in front, but of course he was on the outside of the circuit, the dirtier part of the racetrack. All the rubber would be rolling off, so he had to check to ensure that he didn't run off track, which of course then gave the opportunity back to Meyer Mellenhoff to get the lead back, albeit it was half a car's length. But as I say, this is turn 5 for the work that is going to benefit the McLaren has got to be done. And coming into turns 1, 2, 3, these two cars are evenly matched. Just exit out of 5 is where they lose it.
10 minutes to go here in Nogaro. There is the 3rd place, Maximilian Buch. As they come towards the right-hander at turn 4, he's pushing hard. The gap is now down to 6.3 seconds between Buch and Loeb. It's not going to be enough for them, but still, with 9 minutes to go, it's been a very impressive performance from them, and they will end up 2nd in class by the looks of things. Here comes Sebastian Loeb now, again to the outside he looks. But he's not going to, well, he's going to try and go around the outside again. We know what Meyer Mellenhoff's going to do here. He's going to squeeze him onto the grass, which, if anything, putting Loeb onto the grass might give him an advantage as they come into the double left-hander.
And of course, what Mellenhoff does, he just puts the car down the inside, precludes Sebastian Loeb from trying to come back at him. Then this short run out of turn 10 down into 11 and 12, nowhere really to pass unless you are absolutely alongside. So we're just seeing literally driver following driver up into turn 13, the penultimate corner on the lap. It's not a particularly quick corner. Again, the key is to get the car positioned to get a good exit out of turn 14. But the straight, and René Rast, he's watching his co-driver. He did his business when he was in the car defending against Alvaro Parente. So it's all about just positioning for Sebastian Loeb. He's got to work it out, and then once he gets that position, just use it.
So these two cars have seldom been separated by more than half a second throughout the entirety of the 52 minutes of the race so far. They really, Constantine, are up there, and it's through this final, well, this turn 5, the final corner before the long straight, that Loeb has a bit of an advantage.
I think he's better placed this time. He's closer to the back of the Audi this time, coming through turn 5, then straight. Now he gets up, trying to get alongside before he gets under the brakes, but the Audi is good under the brakes. And Loeb, I thought he was going to try and do, he might make the cut back this time because he's got a better entry to the corner, but he can't get the McLaren alongside the Audi before they got to turn into turn 8.
How frustrating must this be? Full credit to Niki Meyer Mellenhoff. He's defending very strongly, very firmly, very convincingly so far with 7.5 minutes to go. Sebastian Loeb, in his debut in international series racing, is really struggling to find a way past on this tight and twisty Nogaro circuit. It's a classic circuit, really. It hasn't been changed much since it was being raced on by the likes of Alain Prost in the 70s.
No, it's one of the circuits in France. It's part of the federation. It's a very popular racetrack. There's a bit of battling going on here.
Queue, yeah. So
3 BMWs and the Nissan.
What have we got here? We've got well, Aman Ibrahim has been passed now by Caco Bueno. Caco Bueno in the 0 car, which is the number he races in Brazilian stock cars, where he's won the championship 5 times and won at Interlagos in the first race of this season as well, in a thrilling race. But anyway, that's a different story. He has managed to get past Aman Ibrahim, and now his teammate Ricardo Zonta is trying to get past Aman Ibrahim, the ex-BAR racer, who very famously, well, a couple of famous things happened to him at Spa. He got passed either side by Hakkinen and Schumacher, and he absolutely totaled a BAR, didn't he, at Eau Rouge. Here we go again.
Down the inside.
Here's the dummy from Loeb, but Mehrmanov sees it coming. Is that more than 2 moves?
He's got it this time.
Sebastian Loeb takes the lead of the first round of the FIA GT Series. Mehrmanov was too busy looking in his mirrors, too busy changing his line. He locked up, ran wide, and Sebastian Loeb is into the lead. About time too, I think, from the McLaren's perspective.
Well, I mean, he worked over the back of the Audi for lap upon lap upon lap. He got the run this time through turn 5, got the position, and he was then able to apply even more pressure and force the Audi into making a manoeuvre which then would ultimately compromise and allow Loeb in the McLaren to take the lead, and that's really pretty impressive. Bit of motor racing from the 9-time world rally champion.
The French fans absolutely loving it as Loeb comes across the line. Then he's already built up 1.4 seconds to Niki Mehrmanov. Expect him now to pull away, and Mehrmanov could be in trouble from Maximilian Buch, you know.
Well, I think that the Maximilian
Buch, 2 seconds between them.
The momentum has gone to Buch, because he can now see the Audi dropping back from the McLaren. That's incentive to Buch to run down the Audi. We've got 5 minutes remaining, and now you can see René Rass's face. That sort of almost smirking smile that he had while they were leading the race has disappeared. He knows that the second position that was his current position is now going to be under challenge from Buch in the Mercedes.
So down towards turn 7, Sebastian Loeb in the Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren MP412C is the leader. But look at this for second and third now. Maximilian Buch, who's a really, really impressive young talent, you have to say. He hasn't got much. Well, here's a look at the replay. So Mehrmanov was on the outside. He moved back to the outside, almost got caught out by the dummy. Well, did get caught out. Couldn't get it stopped, could he?
Well, it was a sort of a double dummy, but it meant that the Audi slightly overran the corner. He didn't get the apex, and that allowed Loeb the opportunity to cut back under. So it was like being a double agent. You had a double dummy.
The marshal on the exit of the corner was cheering as Loeb went past, as were the substantial crowd here at Nogaro. But here's the battle for second place then. And Mehrmanov, he can get quite fiery in the cockpit. We saw him kick a few things, didn't we, in Navarra last year.
Nothing wrong with kicking a bit of things, is there?
So he needs to calm down. Well, I'm sure there have been many drivers. Oh, that's Aman Ibrahim and Lucas Ordonez. So those two have, I presume, come together at turn 7. I mean, that pretty much will be. I don't think it needs to be Jessica Fletcher to figure that out. Probably a puncture there as well. Here we go. Ordonez,
down the inside.
Really close enough, is he?
And is the Audi going to? The Audi just drives down. And well, you know, when you're so far wide and you cut across. I don't know what the regulation is in GT racing regarding how far up or how far back a car is going to be to have to concede the corner, but certainly in Formula 1 terms, the Nissan had the corner in that case.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, wasn't it? Because you couldn't quite see from this particular angle, but let's watch as Maximilian Buch closes down on Niki Mehrmanov. As I say, Buch is relatively inexperienced. He's only 20 years of age. He won GT3 last year, and since then he's only got, I mean before then, he's only got 2 years in ADAC Formal Masters to contend with, so relatively inexperienced, but he learned a lot last season as they come down towards the right-hander. Through the double right. And then towards the final 2 corners. I think this will be to start the penultimate lap of the race. And well, Lucas Ordonez is going quite slowly there. Oh, he was on the apex of the corner, but they just passed him in time as they head down towards turn 1 again.
Well, Buka's certainly going to give Nicky Maier-Manhoff in these closing moments of this race a good workover. The Mercedes has had the momentum since the lead changed. And again, it's going to be the key corner on this racetrack. Whether the Mercedes can achieve what it took McLaren a very long time to do, and that's get into position. It takes a different line to get a much better exit. Now, the gap between the two cars, well, the straight line, the speed of the Mercedes, I don't think is going to be sufficient on this lap. But we wait to see whether Maximilian Buch is going to be courageous on the brakes. The Audi's not having to defend, so Maier-Manhoff is not concerned about an attack coming, and it doesn't come with 1 3/4 minutes remaining.
So through the right-hander at turn 8 they come. Sebastian Loeb continues to lead the way. 1.5 minutes remaining, so this will be about to start the final lap of the race. A little run wide there from Buch as he pushes hard to try and close down in second place. Anthony Kumpen just sets his personal best in the first sector. But I think the qualifying session really shook everything up. I think we're going to see a very close race tomorrow, because at the end of this qualifying race, everything is kind of shaken into place almost. So tomorrow, in the main race, as they start the final lap, I think it's going to be very, very close with the likes of Kumpen, with the likes of Vieira, with the likes of Chandhok and Seyfarth. Caca Bueno in there as well. What's Bueno's and Zonta's lap times like? They're doing 30.0, so they're doing the pace of the leaders, Caca Bueno and Ricardo Zonta, down in 7th and 8th positions. So I think tomorrow is going to be very, very tight. Loeb leads. Here's the second place battle then. And really, it's one chance. It's now or never, I'd say, for Maximilian Buch. Going down into turn 7 for the final time.
Slightly better placed this time, but you're going to see more defence from the Audi going to the right of the racetrack. The Mercedes lights flashing. Is he going to make a brave move? He's going to go round the outside, maybe going to try and force an error from the Audi driver, as we saw Sebastian Loeb do some minutes ago, but no, he's not able to do it. But he is. Ooh, he just got the nose almost to the tail of the Audi as they swept into turn 8.
So, down towards the double left-hander. And it looks as though Nicky Maier-Manhoff has held on to this second place for the time being. But, well, Maier-Manhoff still having to go defensive, and that could give Buch a chance. Not really. And into the final, look at Maier-Manhoff totally backing up Maximilian Buch. But these two aren't going to grab the headlines. The man who is going to grab the headlines is going to be Sebastian Loeb. The 9 times World Rally champion sees the checker flag and wins the qualifying race here at Nogaro. Second place just for Nicky Maier-Manhoff. Only a 1/10 of a second between them as they cross the line. Third place, Maximilian Buch in the HTP Gravity Charouz Mercedes. 4th position is going to be Anthony Kumpen. And he's got a bit of traffic in front of him, but that's not going to cause him too much problems. 4th place for Kumpen in the Audi. 5th place for Carlos Vieira in the Audi. Strong performance from Nova driver. Very, very good to see the Portuguese squad doing so well. Karun Chandhok will come home in 6th place, but Sebastian Loeb takes the win. The applause from all around the circuit as the Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren comes across the line to take the victory. There are the two Team Brazil BMWs. 7th and 8th places for them. I think they'll be fairly satisfied with that on their debut. On their first real venture outside of Brazil as well. But there is Loeb down towards turn 7. And you can hear the applause. You can hear how pleased the French fans are that Loeb has taken victory in front of them in his first venture into a full season of international circuit racing. Second place for Nicky Maier-Manhoff, I think, will please them. And you do get some points for this race, but the most important thing is to have taken the pole position for tomorrow's main race. It's coming up on Monday afternoon, Bank Holiday Monday afternoon, the traditional Coup de Pack here in Nogaro, which has been happening for years and years. Alain Prost won the Coup de Pack back in 1974, I believe. It'll be very interesting when these guys talk to Watty what their opinions are of some of the battles that went on out there, because Meyer Melnoff was certainly, as we've seen throughout Meyer Melnoff's career, pushing the bracket a little bit. But these drivers come back in to the pit lane. The marshals applauding as well. And this will obviously move Sebastian Loeb and Alvaro Perez to the top of the Drivers' Championship. Top drive from Maximilian Buch, though. Very, very impressive stuff from him. As I say, not much experience, but he's definitely a GT star of the future. There's no doubt about that at all, because he has been so impressive. But there is Sebastian Loeb then, about to climb out of his car. And a famous victory this will be. No one quite expected him to come here and win like this. It was a possibility, of course, but such is the strength and depth in this FIA GT Series field that it was by no means an easy job done. And as he climbs out of the car,